You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 404 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Sylvie McCracken. And if you want to hear us discuss how to leverage your business and health with online courses, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Super stoked. I have Sylvie McCracken here coming in from Austin, Texas today. And this is episode 404. It's been a long time coming. I met Sylvie down in beautiful Puerto Rico, and we just kicked it off. And she's not a chiropractor, but I think she's going to help chiropractors understand the business modeling of scaling and going from brick and mortar to click and order. Thank you, Les Brown. But before we jump into this episode, I'm going to tell people the big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, we protect free speech, and that's so important. As before we were chatting, we went down a lot of different rabbit trails talking about why it's important to have freedom of speech. And then another thing that we do, if you guys don't know what it is, go do a quick search for it. I don't recommend any search engine particularly, but go look for BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. We protect the sacred trust. We support subluxation-based chiropractors. If you don't know what subluxation is, that's a big thing you might want to go find out too. And then universal and innate intelligence, that when a person gets adjusted, it connects man and woman, the physical, to man and woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, Sylvie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think that you're going to really light people up with content and information that's going to help them out tremendously, because as we were talking about earlier, there is this idea of the golden handcuffs,
right,
of the profession, that if you're not laboring at the job of being over the adjusting table, taking care of people during patient hours, then you're not a chiropractor anymore.
Right. Like you've sold out, you've gone to the dark side of being successful. But what's funny is we were also chatting about the fact that you and I don't make the rules. There's a certain lifespan that we've got on our bodies. Of course, with incredible tools like chiropractic, we can extend that, we can make that easier, all that good stuff. But I don't know of anyone that wants to be 85 years old and over the chiropractic table. So whatever that magic age is, you're gonna want to stop adjusting at some point. So why not take care of that as soon as humanly possible, so you can have that option?
Well, I think just being in business, that we need to understand different verticals of influence, and that you should always, really honor your position as a chiropractor, and as long as you want to,
right,
physically adjust people, you should. But you should also understand what your secret power is too, which might not be such a secret anymore, but you teach people how to control traffic.
Yeah. So really how to create online programs and take, like you said, kind of the brick and mortar to the click and order, Les Brown phrase, really just in terms of both making the chiro or, other professions in the natural health space, of location independent, and also really breaking up that dollars per hours model. So like you said, what I love about it is that it doesn't have to be, we're not absolute, right? This isn't a cult. This isn't that you have to be one or the other. Like you can blend and create that perfect schedule, that whatever that fits for you. So if you want to be in there adjusting on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the rest of the time you're building your online business, or whatever it might be. For some of our clients, they want to be able to live from wherever and be able to handle their entire business and influence the planet, from their laptop. And that's totally fine too.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful for people to understand that marketing is a language of its own, and creating a course that explains your process and gets people access to you is something that we can leverage to more influence, more financial freedom, and actually teaching people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the reality is, and I love the chiropractic profession just in terms of, just what you guys are able to do, both when you're hands-on and, as we've learned over the last couple of years, also, when you're hands-off as well, in terms of really changing people's lives, and really changing things at the root, not actually just fixing symptoms. But yeah, there is this like limited capacity on, if you're only doing adjustments, there are however many you can do in one day, however many days per week that you're able to do that. There's a limited number of people that you can impact as well. So if you're not doing something in addition to that, you're really limiting the number of lives that you can touch, period. That's just math.
Yeah. So let's talk marketing.
Yeah.
I was explaining to you, like, during our pre-chat about like chiropractors do screening events, they do dinners with the doc, they do lunch and learns, they do massage events, they do all these different things, external marketing. And then I was telling you about like how I have this like, kind of hate relationship with agency models that don't know anything about chiropractic, that want to come in and, serve up ads to chiropractors, and they're not patients. They don't know anything about the profession,
right?
That it's based on science, philosophy, and art. Like, they don't know any of this stuff.
Right.
And here they are, like, jumping into the chiropractic world, DMing the heck out of these chiropractors. But
hoping to catch one, hoping to get one. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they build their portfolio off other people's money.
Right. Well, and the crazy part of that is you're telling me that it's someone that hasn't been on either side of the table. They haven't been a patient of chiropractic, and they haven't been a chiropractor. They haven't even been in the office of chiropractic, it sounds like. So how on earth would they be able to write the copy, write the words that are, for this ad? I'm confused.
Well, I think what they do is they just go and copy paste.
Right. Steal somebody else's. Yeah. That's a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah.
Swipe file geniuses.
Right. Copy pros at copy paste. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I see in marketing, and I don't know if, for those listening to the podcast, I don't know if anyone has this sort of visceral reaction to the word marketing or sales or whatever it might be. I don't know if that's the case in your with your listeners. I feel like I see that a lot in, the larger sample size that is health professionals in general, or health practitioners, just because in a lot of ways, that's not something that was really prevalent in school. It was sort of one of those like the entire sales and marketing module seemed to be put up a shingle, get some business cards, good luck to you. And the reality is marketing is really just letting people know what you have to offer, right? And especially for people like Chiros, I feel like you guys are so incredibly just beacons of light in terms of making a change. Of course, we got to make this a profitable business. Ain't nobody running a charity here. But, the reality is marketing, if you're not doing it, you're really stealing your gifts from those that need you most, right? You're not putting it out there. You're not letting people know. They can't find you. They're Googling right now. They're finding some other idiot. So it really is like marketing is incredibly, incredibly powerful. But the other piece of it is, are you marketing with all these things that are very traditional in your world? Are you marketing a product that is out of stock? Right. So if you're only selling your one-on-one time, if that's all you've got for sale, other than maybe some, supplements, I would argue marketing needs to be put on pause, and we got to figure out what your product suite is first, and then go back to marketing.
So yeah, talk about that. Talk about course creation and why it's important for a chiropractor to take their knowledge and put it into a course.
Yeah, well, I feel like, none of us are invincible. None of us are going to be here forever. So a lot of the times, really what I find in the profession of chiropractic is you guys are repeating yourselves over and over and over again. So it's this 80-20 where a lot of it, that 80%, it feels like you've had that same conversation 4 times today, and you're helping, 80% of your clients with this one same issue. And you're like, if only people would just know how to eat, or how to exercise, or how to sleep, or how important this is, or to stop drinking, I don't know, a big gulp every day, or whatever it is that is your thing. The reality is there's a more efficient way to put that information out there for you, for the patient and the patients, right? That you can 10x or infinity X, really, how many people you can help over your career. And so it's important for a million different reasons. But I feel like even if we're starting out if I'm talking to the Chiro, if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I will never stop adjusting until my body says no more, I will never stop adjusting. Cool. I hear you. That's totally and completely doable. But we need something that's for sale, that it doesn't require your time, because you and I mean, any one of us could be hit by a bus tomorrow. But also it really is this rainy day fund. It is this maternity leave. It is somebody got injured. It is, I need 3 months off because life happened. It is all you need something that's leveraged, that is going to give you the location independence, whether you want to spend 3 months in Italy with your family, or you just want to not go in the office the 4th day of the week, right? And then of course there is our clients that are, either done doing manual, manipulation of any kind, or that, have already gone down to 2 days a week and now want to figure out how to go to 0 days per week. They're ready to get out of the office entirely, and they don't want to go the traditional scale model, or they don't have the skills or the whatever, or the desire to really be having second locations and associates under them. And, they didn't get into this profession to be people managers. They got in this profession to help people, right? And to help the client. And they want to be able to do more of that. So this is a perfect way to be able to go one to many instead of one to one.
Well, I think you said a lot of things that were really important right there. And I was just on an interview earlier today, and we were talking about like my scenarios for chiropractor dreams. Well, number one, chiropractors want to hire an associate and adjust less because they want somebody to carry the load with them.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, when they get into that model, they want to say, well, I have such a great thing. How do I like scale this and turn it into like 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 and like franchise this thing, or like build partnerships type thing? And, that they want to have that financial independence to where they can do that. But you're right. I think when they turn the corner so hard, they don't realize that they're trading their interest of being a healer for now the interest of being like a staunch business person, which I don't know if that's really what they want either.
Right. And I wonder if sometimes I feel like these dreams are sort of handed to us a little bit by society of like, you should want X, right? And it's really interesting because in the business world, one common question is, well, how many employees do you have? And that sort of is one of these weird metrics of like how big of a business you have. And I'm thinking that you want to have the least amount, you want to have the leanest company ever, right? Like it's so crazy to me that overhead is a metric of success. But yeah, I feel like, what I would say to anyone, myself included, is with those dreams, I would really, really picture and journal out a day in the life. Because what you don't want to do is be climbing up this ladder, and when you reach the top, you realize, oh crap, I didn't even want to be here.
That's unfulfilling.
Yeah. And so you really want a day in the life of like, is that, and I would even go as far as like, just like if I would be counseling, I've got 3 kids. So if I was counseling a 17-year-old, 18-year-old that's telling me I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a whatever, I want to own a pharmacy, whatever it is, I would want them to really get their feet as close as possible to a day in the life of experiencing that before you go down that road. Because the reality is, for example, in this case of owning several facilities and having several associates, right? Because that's where we're going. If we're going to get one associate in a second facility, I mean, the scale after that is, that doesn't take a genius, 3, 4, 5. So I would ask, I would see, even if it's not a chiropractor, fellow chiropractor, but is there someone in your network that you could have a quick, conversation on what does a day in the life look like in that business model? My guess is it's a lot of putting out fires. It's a lot of HR. It's a lot of hiring. It's a lot of firing. It's a lot of, it's very far removed from did Tommy get his back injury resolved or not? It's very far removed from what you went into this in the first place for. And if that's your jam, there is no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of, is that what you want to do? Is that what you want your day-to-day life to look like? And if so, reverse engineer and let's make that happen. If not, what do you want your day-to-day to look like and how do we get there?
Yeah, I like the information. I think that people should have a very cerebral idea about the dream that they give themselves. And anything is possible, but I think that these tracks have been laid for a long time, and that they come into it with like this already, systemized idea that this is the only route to success, and this is the only route to serving. This is the only route to becoming the profitable, successful chiropractor. Right. And I think that what you're saying is there's other ways to consider building a different vertical of income.
Right.
And getting more financial freedom.
Oh, that part for sure. And I don't make the rules when it comes to this. It's like, just think about the fact that if all you need in terms of to run an online business is a Wi-Fi connection, which at this point, is like a prerequisite for life, and a laptop, some way to connect to the internet, versus you need a brick and mortar, which you're paying rent on, whether you've got the patients or not yet. You need a front office person. You need someone to clean the joint. You need equipment. Like, I don't make the rules. That's hella line items that we're talking about right there. So what I'm just a huge fan of self-awareness. You and I share a love for Gary Vee. So, it really, like, self-awareness is really the key. And I would just have a real conversation with yourself of being like, do I want to have these 3-4 locations and have that business? Or do I want to be able to say, I have 3 locations because it's 2 different things, like running the darn thing is a whole other ballgame.
Or I have the number 1 course out there that trains people how to
Right.
have financial freedom through
Right.
XYZ.
Right, exactly. I mean, whatever it is, like, for, in the chiropractic world, I mean, whether you focus on, if it's a certain autoimmune disease, I mean, you guys help with so many different things. And of course, there's the manual manipulation piece of it. There's pain. There's like, if you niche down to runner's injuries, if you niche down to, there's so many different options in terms of what you could do. Because a lot of people are like, that sounds great, but how on earth do we do it? Well, obviously, you're not doing manual adjustments if you live in North Carolina and the other person lives in Vancouver. But there's many different ways to get your experience and expertise out there and help other people. And it doesn't have to be in person, for sure.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West. Let's hustle. That's really cool. I think that you're opening up a lot of people's eyes to possibility, and marketing and branding is something that comes along with that. And online course creation is, I was talking to a friend of mine today over in the Netherlands, and he was telling me, like, we both joined this group a few years ago. And I was like, well, Sylvie really does this. She really teaches people how to do this. It's not just some idea that somebody once did it well.
Right.
And like, now they're like creating this like group of people trying to teach the same thing over to them. But
Right.
This is something that you've done over and over and taught a lot of people how to do it.
Right. Yep. And the thing is, for me, it was something that really blended my 2 passions. So my first internet, foray was in writing about gut health. And I wrote a book on scoliosis. I wrote a book on, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Like, I'm a bit of a health nerd and a researcher. And so I had that sort of going. And of course I had nutritionists and gastroenterologists and all these people coming my way being like, how are you doing this? Can you teach us? And so that spurred this other side. My degree and my background is in business. And so, which is like a game for me. Like, I love, figuring out, like, being in the lab, trying to figure out business things. And so, it was a natural progression of like, I can teach people how to do this. And in the beginning, it was really creating info products and ebooks. And then it transitioned to courses and programs and all that good stuff. But I really wanted to help just the health world, right? And part of the reason for that, in addition to, I really love the idea of like these 2 synergies combined, we can really like tackle so many diagnoses, so many, types of people that need help, whether it's Lyme disease or autoimmune disease or whatever. And also I have a little bit of a knack for being able to, like, me and my team are really, really interested and curious. So when we're helping someone create their message, like, even though we are not the experts on type 1 diabetes, we will become the mini expert to be able to create those marketing messages. So we're not like the spray and pray agencies who help chiros and plumbers, right? We're only helping health practitioners. So it's something that we really love doing.
Well, it's cool that you've niched in. Let's talk a little bit more about you. I know you got some kids, and I know that you do your best to stay up and up on your own personal health and mindset and physical and mental. But what are you doing? Like, what are some of your strategies that you do to keep yourself healthy?
Yeah. So, well, the main one is, and it sounds more expensive than it is hiring a personal chef. So, I have a chef that comes in once a week for meal prep. So she preps, 5 meals or whatever it might be, and has like jar salads for me for lunch. So having that has been great because I've got my quirks when it comes to nutrition, as I'm sure you know, of things like sneaking in grass-fed beef liver or cooking everything that can be cooked in, bone broth and all that good stuff. And I don't want to do it, but I want it done. And so it's one of the sort of investments that I make in myself and my family's health that just keeps it on repeat, where I just get an email from her every Monday, approve the menu, and off it goes. And of course I've got my little quirks in terms of, filtered water and this Oura ring that tells me to go to bed and all kinds of stuff. But that, I would say that the biggest thing is probably having that nutrition so that 80% of our meals are sort of dealt with. And, I know it's going in, and that way, we can be flexible when the kids have a party and they're ordering pizza and whatever it might be. And I sort of don't sweat it at all, where I'm just like, yep, I know what they ate the other 80% of the time. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's really cool. And one of my standards is the stronger that I am, everything else is easier.
Yeah.
So when I really pay attention to my strength and I like train hard and I focus on like stability, like a
Yeah.
foundation,
Yeah.
like everything else is easier.
Yeah.
So I think that your main hub is nutrition.
Yes.
And then when the nutrition is solid, everything else is easier for you.
For sure, for sure. I just know that because I've gotten into those ruts where I'll travel and it'll be winging it for a few days, and I'm like, yep, this is why I do this. This does not work for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people start thinking about healthy habits, which we talk about a lot, not only a chiropractic lifestyle, which is eat well, think well, move well, get adjusted, but it's so much more. It's what is the consistency when it comes to getting proper nutrition, feeling strong, and then everything else is easier.
Yeah.
You don't get like the mental attack. You
Right.
don't get like the sedation blues, like these things that are like happening on day to
Yeah.
day. It's less it's less easy for us to be influenced with things that aren't good for us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think also, because for me, it really is 80-20. I mean, at this point, at this age, and I've got, kids aging 23 all the way down to 11. And so I've been at it for a while in terms of like how to parent and how to make sure that they, eat well and all that stuff. And so I really try to focus on that 80-20. So with the 80% of meals being one of it. And the other thing I do for them and for me is I'm a fan of supplements, got that dialed down because I love getting a blood panel, and once a quarter or sometimes it becomes once every 6 months, dialing that in. But I just have an old grandma box of pills that are my supplements. And I just make sure that, we, like the kids and I both, like they do they have just two, but and just do those with breakfast, with dinner, and call it a day. I feel like it's such a small thing that you can do that will help, just give you that like that edge, right? Or that little cheat.
Yeah, I can't, support more that idea
Mm-hmm.
of making sure that, we have our blood work
Yeah.
checked. We're functional. I
Yeah.
think that that's baseline. I call it blueprint medicine. That when people understand the blueprint of their real physical health, that's why I love chiropractic so much, because I believe that people should be getting x-rays of their spine. They should be knowing like if there is any concern with like thinning of discs or any disc degeneration or any
Right.
type of herniations or anything like that. They should know like the quality of their spinal health. They should
Fair.
know the quality of their blood work.
Yeah.
And then they should be very mindful of what they're feeding themselves, both what they're drinking and what they're feeding, like the source of what they're eating.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think that that's so much true. And then, you got to be functional.
Yeah.
So I know a big kick right now is functional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where you came into this world, is
Yeah.
creating systems for people for gut health.
Yes.
So let's talk about like where you see the medical profession
Yeah.
as an overarch of where we are today with chiropractic and how chiropractic fits into that, but where you see like the future of like the medical arena going.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because, and I think this is really important for anyone listening that is a little bit resistant to changing things up. And I get it, change is uncomfortable. But the reality is, I think what's happening in the healthcare world is just like Uber came in and disrupted the heck out of taxis. Those were working just fine, I guess, for however long they were working. And one day came Uber, and other than the iconic New York cab, I mean, it's really like if you're not taking Uber, Lyft, or whatever the thing is, you're not getting a ride, right? And I think the same thing is going to happen with health. So whether we like it or not, this train is leaving the station in terms of people want more convenient care. They want it at their fingertips. They want it right now. They want it online. They want it from home, right? And especially in the last 2 years, like we got used to, there's no commute, there's no parking, there's no dealing with none of that. It just all kind of went online, for better or worse. And so I think that if you're not online, if you're not offering something online, if you're not offering something that is not dependent on a certain mile radius from you, you're missing the boat. Like the reality is what you can help with right now. Let's say it is arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis is your jam. That's what you help the most with. Right now, people are Googling for that. And if you don't have something available for purchase, if you don't have something available to help someone that is 10 states away, cool. They're just going to, buy it from someone else. Right. So that's where I see it going. Now, do I see, everything being online? Every once in a while, I have a troll on a Facebook ad that I've got to have this conversation with? Of course not. Of course, ER, is still going to be a thing. Of course, we're going to need one-on-one and in person for certain things. It cannot replace everything, and nor should it. But I think that right now we're in a reactive sort of like, we fix things, when it's a big problem, as opposed to, I think the consumer is now changing over the last 2 years. The average consumer was like, oh, wait a second, maybe I do need to actually worry about my health. Maybe this is on me. So we have seen way more people that are willing to go out of pocket. It doesn't matter if insurance doesn't cover it. They're going to a functional medicine doc. They're going, hey, how can I fix this? I heard that people with obesity are at greater risk. What should I do about that? Things that we were not seeing 10 years ago. And so I think that we need to be there, both because it's our duty. I feel like it's our duty and our obligation to help these people. And also because, that's really where the market is headed. So we want to be there to be able to serve.
Well, I think there's some unpacking to do there. Number one, people have to build a relationship with somebody that they can trust. Number two, they have to be interested enough to be healthy. They have to understand that, we are what we eat, but we are what we eats, and we are what we drink, and we are what is inside of what we drink. So we have to understand, like, there's a trail of like how we feed ourselves, and then we have to know how to supplement properly. And we have to have trust in somebody that's going to be our trusted healthcare advisor. That's not just going to try to pass on what the big farm rep tells to do.
Yeah.
And I think that building a relationship with somebody that is interested in optimal function, and not just like the, whatever's being bought and sold at the moment. Yeah. I think that people should be really curious about, optimizing their health for longevity. And, a lot of that is, cutting weight. It's about eating real food. It's about supplementing for what's not in our food. And it's about checking and rechecking. So I think what you said there is really important. And it shouldn't just be for, like you said, like when it's like critical times. Yeah. You should just do this because it's the right thing to do for longevity. Yeah. You should do this because it's the right thing to do for sustainability. You should do this because it's the right thing to do to have a healthy family to where you're not in crisis mode.
Right. And the thing is, it's our job as health practitioners and marketers to educate the consumer. The reality is right now, the education is coming from the Pop-Tarts commercial, and so, I think that, you don't have to be a guru in the space, but entering the space as a contributor, as one more person that's saying largely the same thing: eat right, sleep right, move right, all these things. I think we need more of that, right? To drown out the nonsense.
Well, we just need to go grassroots, and we need people that have a voice and some want to teach people to be accountable. I think that's really a thing, is encouraging people and being accountable for people.
Yep.
This is a message from Dr. Tim just now. We are not what we eat, but what we digest and absorb.
Love it. Yeah, totally true. Well, especially having, researched gut health as much as I have, that is for sure. Because with, severe small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, there's only so much, right? But yeah. Thanks, Tim. That's awesome.
So let's talk about how you came to where you are today. Who are some of your heroes, and who inspired you to think and behave the way you do today?
Well, so I would say one of my heroes is Oprah, maybe a little bit cliche, but I think, I tend to gravitate towards people that have had a really difficult past, because, and have, despite that, or maybe even because of that, we could argue, have become really successful. And my definition of success is, a little bit nuanced, but someone like Oprah, really inspires me, because when I get in my little personality mind, as she calls it, or want to start going into excuses of why I couldn't, or why it's too hard, or whatever, someone that has had it 10 times harder than me really makes me just check myself and get back into, you know what, just get back to work. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that we all should have some spirit of inspiration from people that have gone and done stuff before us, and they set the model for us. So it's cool to know that you've found some inspiration in Oprah.
Yeah, for sure. I just, in terms of, and I just love reading memoirs and whatnot. I feel like I really get, like, it's this, I don't know, like this my grandparents all died young, but it's sort of like, I feel like this feeling of like sitting around with my elders when I'm reading a memoir of someone that has lived a really incredible life, and also hearing about the rough patches and what they did and how they overcame those things is really, really inspiration to me. So another one, it was recently was Cicely Tyson as well. Just, stories of really successful women in particular, and women of color as well, that have had a really tough ride.
Yeah. So I'm interested now towards the end of our interview.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, you've actually helped people and that your systems really work for people. So let's talk about somebody that was like nicked up and really, really challenged with success, and you found them and you created some success with them because you saw their blind spots and you were able to fill in the gaps for what they were missing. And now they're thriving.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting because I think a lot of people have this misconception of like, this sounds great, but it wouldn't work for me because whatever, insert thing here. And it's interesting because what we'll routinely get is like, even just an OBGYN that had 200 clients and was able to do an $80,000 launch that was just a kind of a pre-seed validation launch, and things like that. So it really takes not that much to get started. And I actually love that piece. I love the sort of messy, we're building the plane as we're flying it type of thing, which I know a lot of health practitioners don't love, but hey, welcome to the world of marketing. But this client that comes to mind, and I won't share her name just to protect her privacy, because I know she likes her privacy. But she was in a really bad spot, and she, shared that she was, really maxed out on debt. She had a business that she was doing in the network marketing space. She was also doing one-on-one. And all that jazz, but nothing was really working. She also had 3 young kids. I mean, they're still pretty young. She still has 3 young kids. And she was the main provider for her and her husband and her 3 kids. But she was in a really, she had the desire, she had the passion. I saw that drive in her, but she was in a spot where I didn't even find this out till later, that she wasn't even able to invest in our program. Her best friend invested in her in our program for her, which I didn't even realize was happening, but that's how bad she sort of wanted it. Because usually when I hear, that things are tough, I'm just like, all right, cool. Let me give you a book recommendation and we'll do this when the timing is right. But I've seen oftentimes, I mean, her story is not unique in that when there's this huge why, like that's the thing I love seeing the most, more than experience, more than money, more than time, more than anything. It's like this, like, I can't not do this. She showed up. I will definitely, a disclaimer, like she did a ton of work. She rolled up her sleeves. She stayed up late nights. Like she put in what had to happen. So if any marketer or anyone online is telling you this happens overnight, and by next Tuesday, you're going to be sipping Mai Tais, run. Because the reality is it was a solid, amount of work, right, that she put in. But she created her program. She was shaking in her boots to sell it for $2,000. Of course, sold it, had, nothing but rave reviews, raised it to $3,500. Last I checked with her, her program is, I think, $24,000 that she's selling. And she's on track this year for her first $1 million year. So that, to me, what's so powerful about her story is, partly, again, I mean, I'm a sucker for people that have not had it, all that smooth, right? In terms of just having, of course, she paid off all this debt, like just did incredible things with that money. And she's a very driven person, so she's only just getting started. But it really is the fact that it was the mindset piece. Like what we came in with really was, exploding her head in terms of what's possible, in terms of sales, in terms of, positioning, creating a beautiful product, taking that intellectual property out of her head. And, I like to say it's like untangling gold necklaces. You've got gold necklaces in there. They're really valuable. They're just all tangled up. So we just went in there, untangled them all, put them in a program that people could purchase and go through, and gave her the mindset that she needed, of course, the tech tools that she needed, the strategy that she needed, all of that good stuff. But she really put in the hustle, the work, the passion, and the drive to make that possible. And so she's making an incredible, difference in all of these people's lives that she's affecting, but also in her life, in her family's life, in her kids' life. She wanted to be able to have the kids sort of at home and work from home so that they have someone that is taking care of them, but that she's available when it's really, as she calls it, that mommy scream that really necessitates her. She loves being in the other room and being available for that. And so love making those things happen for sure.
Well, Sylvie, Great information. I think there's a lot of people out there with blind spots that could use your assistance in your programs. So where can we send people if they want to work with you or learn more about your process?
Yeah, for sure. So I am Sylvie McCracken everywhere on social media. So feel free to find me there, shoot me a DM. Or if you would like to apply for our program, it is sylviemccracken.com/apply. And there's an advanced private training that you'll watch and all that good stuff. And that'll give you a good understanding of what the business model is like and what we do and how we can help.
Well, I love the fact that you can take people's dreams and put them to reality, and that you can create different verticals of income for people that are in brick and mortar and don't know where to go or who to trust. So I thank you so much for being 404 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you think our audience should know?
I think the only thing I would add is for people to just start. The worst thing is, just start something. If you're not, if you're thinking about thinking, if you're getting ready to get ready, just dip your toe in and start taking action would be my one sort of final message, so that you're not saying, I've been thinking about this for 8 years. Just start taking action on whatever it is that you plan on doing.
And jump on and send Sylvie a DM and learn more about what she's doing. I appreciate you being on with us today.
Thank you so much.
Super powerful episode. And I'm going to close out by telling everybody you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Sylvie, have a great day down there in Austin, Texas.
Thank you so much, James.
I look forward to connecting with you soon, okay?
Likewise. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.